There are some qualities, some incorporate things that have a double life aptly made, the type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evidenced and solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass overgrown, some solemn graces. Some human memories and tearful lore render him terrorless. His name is no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. One power hath he of evil in himself. But should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, who hunteth the dim regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God. Ye who read are still among the living, but I who write shall have long since gone my way into the region of shadows. For indeed strange things shall happen, and secret things be known, and many centuries shall pass away ere these memorials be seen of men. And when seen, there will be some to disbelieve and some to doubt, and yet few who will find much more to ponder upon the characters here given with stylus of iron. The year had been a year of terror, and feelings more intense than terror for which there is no name upon the earth. For many prodigies and signs had taken place, and far and wide over sea and land the black wings of the pestilence were spread abroad. For those, nevertheless, cunning in the stars, it was not unknown that the heavens wore an aspect of ill. And to me, the Greek oinos, among others, it was evident that now had arrived the alteration of that 794th year when, at the entrance of Aries, the planet Jupiter is conjoined with the red ring of the terrible Saturnus. The peculiar spirit of the skies, if I mistake not greatly, made itself manifest, not only in the physical orb of the earth, but in the souls, imaginations, and meditations of mankind. Over some flasks of red Chian wine within the walls of a noble hall in a dim city called Ptolemais we sat at night, a company of 7. In our chamber there was no entrance save by a lofty door of brass, and the door was fashioned by the artist Coronos, and being of rare workmanship was fashioned from within. Black draperies likewise in the gloomy room shut out from our view the moon, the lurid stars, and the peopleless streets. But the boding and the memory of evil, they would not be so excluded. There were things around us and about of which I can render no distinct account, things material and spiritual, heaviness in the atmosphere, a sense of suffocation, anxiety, and, above all, that terrible state of existence which the nervous experience when the senses are keenly alive and awake, and meanwhile the powers of thought lie dormant. A dead weight hung upon us. It hung upon our limbs, upon the household furniture, upon the goblets from which we drank, and all things were depressed and borne down thereby. All things, save only the flames of the 7 iron lamps which illuminated our revel, uprearing themselves in tall slender lines of light, they thus remained burning, all pallid and motionless. And in the mirror which their lustre formed upon the round table of ebony at which we sat, each of us there assembled beheld the parlour of his own countenance, and the unquiet glare in the downcast eyes of his companions. Yet we laughed and were merry in our proper way, which was hysterical, and sang songs of Acreon, which were madness, and drank deeply, though the purple wine reminded us of blood. For there was yet another tenant of our chamber, in the person of young Zoilus. Dead, and at full length he laid enshrouded, the genius and demon of the scene. Alas, he bore no portion in our mirth, save that his countenance, distorted by the plague, and his eyes, in which death had but half extinguished the fire of the pestilence, seemed to take much interest in our merriment, as the dead may aptly take in the merriment of those who are to die. But although I, Onos, felt that the eyes of the departed were upon me. Still I forced myself not to perceive the bitterness of their expression, and gazed down steadily into the depths of the ebony mirror, sang with a loud and sonorous voice the songs of the sons of Teos. But gradually my songs they ceased, and their echoes, rolling afar off along the sable draperies of the chamber, became weak and indistinguishable, and so faded away. And lo, from among those sable draperies, where the sounds of the song departed, there came forth a dark and undefinable shadow. A shadow such as the moon, when low in the heavens, might fashion from the figures of a man. But it was a shadow neither of man nor of God, nor of any familiar thing. And quavering a while among the draperies of the room, it at length rested in full view upon the surface of the door of brass. But the shadow was vague and formless and indefinite, and was the shadow neither of man nor God, neither God of Greece nor God of Chaldea, or any Egyptian god. And the shadow rested upon the brazen doorway, and under the arch of the entablature of the door, and moved not, nor spoke any words, but there became stationary and remained. And the door whereupon the shadow rested was, if I remember aright, over against the feet of the young Zoilus enshrouded. But we, the seven, were assembled, having seen the shadow as it came out from among the draperies, dared not steadily behold it, but cast down our eyes, and gazed continually into the depths of the mirror of ebony. And at length I, Onos, speaking some low words, demanded of the shadow its dwelling and its appellation. And the shadow answered, I am Shadow, and I am dwelling as near to the catacombs of Ptolemus, and hard by those dim plains of Helusion, which border upon the fell Charoneian channel. And then did we, the seven, start from our seats in horror, and stand trembling, and shuddering, and aghast. For those tones in the voice of the shadow were not the tones of any one being, but of a multitude of beings, and, varying in their cadence from syllable to syllable, fell duskily upon our ears in the well-remembered and familiar accents of many thousand departed friends. Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly had I sought to borrow from my book's surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo muttered back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into my chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thread is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. It is the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutters, then with many a flit and flutter, in there stepped a saintly raven of the stately days of yore. Not the least absence made he, not a moment stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched upon the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art thou craven? Ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled by the stillness broken, by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, I said. What it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmercifully disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his song one burden bore, till the dregs of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door, when upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burn into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But those velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over she shall press, ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from some unseen censer, swung by Sephirim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget the lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on the home by honor haunted, tell me, I am poor. Is there balm and gleed? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends over us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted